In May 2018, a highly unusual family dispute in Syracuse, New York made national headlines. 30-year-old Michael Rotondo was sued by his own parents for refusing to move out of their home. The parents, Christina and Mark, claimed that their son had been living at home for years without working, paying rent, or helping with household chores, and have ignored repeated demands to leave. Left with no other option, they turned to the legal system for help. According to court documents, the couple had issued 5 formal eviction notices to their son, all of which were ignored. Frustrated and desperate, they filed a lawsuit to have him legally evicted. At the court hearing, Rotondo appeared in a suit with long, unkempt hair and a calm demeanor. He insisted that he had no job, no income, and nowhere else to go. When asked why he didn't move in with a girlfriend, he replied bluntly, "I don't have a girlfriend. I'm a 30-year-old man living with his parents." He also revealed that he had once been a father, but had lost custody and visitation rights, which sent his life into turmoil. Representing himself in court, Rotondo came across as both inexperienced and stubborn, repeatedly interrupting the judge and making the proceedings tense. Even after the judge issued a ruling, Rotondo continued to argue. Concerned about the state of the family, the judge remarked, "I am worried about the condition of this family. I'm granting the eviction." Rotondo was officially ordered to vacate his parents' home.
Now, here in the Western world, it's a pretty known concept that we leave the house as soon as we turn 18. Once you graduate high school, once you become a legal adult, you should be on your own. You shouldn't have to be leeching off of mommy and daddy's bosoms and, trust funds or net worth, which in reality, most of your parents don't really have anything anyway, so you kind of have to go get it for yourself as it is. But there's this whole analogy, which is the bird leaving the nest, which it seems like a lot of foreign countries, outside the West, they have a lot different aspect on this whole thing, where it's like they would rather shack up and they would rather let their children live with them or let their grandparents live with them and kind of, cut costs, split the funds, and make life a little bit more adjustable in terms of reality. Well, in terms of in the West, we like to have everybody have their own kingdom, and then we can all kind of, act like we're better than each other, which really just kind of creates this weird sort of like, leadership battle where it's like, oh, how's cousin Amy doing? How about Uncle Joe? Oh, he just got that new promotion. So it's this weird competition that we have in the West within our own family structure, which I feel like kind of inherently holds us back as a culture. But I don't necessarily think it's bad, but I definitely think, at least in modern day, with the economy being not so, trustworthy, it's more lackluster. I think you can see a lot more younger folks, Gen Z, Millennials, even Millennials, living with their parents. And with Boomers actually owning homes more so than not, than compared to the other generations, it makes sense that everybody's kind of shacking up now.
Okay, so I want to bring up a really disturbing trend that I've heard in a lot of subcircles, right, of friend groups and stuff. And that is some parents with this crazy idea that once their child turns 18, they're going to kick them out of the house, right? Yeah, because they need to learn how to be adults, learn how to survive, etc. And as a Gen X Asian dad, I'm going to implore you, parents, right, millennial parents thinking about doing this in the future, don't do that, right? Because what you're essentially doing is you're going to risk your child's career, livelihood, etc., over some notion that they need to grow up at 18. Because the reality is they're not growing up at 18. And in fact, I will tell you what happens to young men and women who get kicked out of the house at 18 with no resources for career, education, transportation, or shelter. You know what winds up happening? They'll both take a minimum wage job, right? They'll find that that doesn't make any money. They're going to struggle like hell. They're going to probably couch surf as best they can, but what they'll wind up doing is getting a boyfriend or girlfriend, right? Because they need to share expenses just to live, food, etc. And then what winds up happening? They become pregnant. Now, as a parent, your idea of kicking them out of the house so they could be independent now is shattered, right? Because who gets to take care of the new grandbaby because you kicked your kids out at 18? You do. And if you really want your children to be independent adults, my suggestion as your Gen X Asian dad, if you have to, force them to go to junior college for 2 years to get at least a business degree. Why is that? Because if you have to kick them out at least 20, they have a good, decent education, even an associate's degree in business, where they'll be able to talk like an adult in a business environment. So even if they wound up flipping burgers at a fast food joint, they would qualify for some kind of management position a hell of a lot faster than having no education at all. Anyway, I'm Percy Chow, your Gen X Asian dad, feeling very passionately about not kicking your kids out at 18, but rather at least setting them up for some kind of success in the future.
There's definitely a stigma of living at home with your parents in the West, especially as an adult. Now, if you don't get this stigma from your family, you'll definitely get it from your friends and your peers, because you're going to be seeing them, starting getting married, they're starting to have kids, they're starting to start their careers out and actually, climb up that little corporate ladder or whatever they, sought out to do. And you see yourself comparably not really hitting those same quotas, not really hitting those same marks or those same metrics. Almost kind of like you're stagnant, kind of just stalling in place, which is the majority of us. And I'm sure if you're watching the channel, you might relate to this. If you're not, if you have kind of left your friends behind, almost it might seem like, to do better for yourself and become who you're meant to be, then it's kind of a weird, thing where it's like we all grow up in the same type of, relatability. We're all kind of the same spot. But then as we grow, we're vastly different in terms of our life and our experiences. So it's not necessarily like it's bad to live with your parents, but there definitely are people that, never leave, mooch off their parents, don't even contribute. Now, every time I've moved back in with family, which has only been a couple of times, I'm currently 25, I've always paid to live there still. I've rented a room or rented some sort of place of the house where I'm still not living for free as an adult. Or ever since I turned 18, I've never been able to just live for free. It's never been just a free coasting type of ride for me. I personally don't have parents to do that. I have some other family members who are more willing to do so. My family is rather older compared to the average family, but I do want to say, if you personally ever had to shack back up with your folks, did you personally have to leave home right when you turned 18, or are you currently living at home and you feel like you get a lot of judgment from your peers around you?
Dude, totally okay, man. Fucking back when COVID happened, I was like 27 or some shit. I had to move back home with my parents. Lost my job. Dude, I didn't have a fucking girlfriend, and I was living in a place where I went back to my hometown, and I went to go like at my parents' place, sleep in the same fucking bed I slept in when I was like a kid. So all my childhood demons came back to me. That's why I say the best thing you could do is get the fuck out of your hometown and go explore places, and get out of your home state too, man. Just go somewhere totally different. You can always come back, go somewhere different, man. But yeah, man, totally. It's not like you're the only person in this world. There's so many guys and girls who are 24, same exact situation, dude. As long as you're actively pushing yourself forward and trying stuff and like trying to go about it, dude, that's fine, man. But the thing that when it's not okay is if you were to like, stay the same. Oh, it's okay, cool. I'm chilling. I'm not trying to make myself better. But the fact that it's okay to be lost, dude. Trust me, it's totally cool. Like, you're gonna feel lost many times throughout life. You're gonna have spikes where things are good. Then you're gonna be, oh shit, what the hell happened? Everything's not good now. You're gonna feel lost again. Totally okay, man. It's called just growing up. Where you're young. 24 is really young still, and yeah, you might think, back in the day, oh, by the time I'm 24, I'll have things figured out. Shit, we all fucking thought that, and everyone thought, I think that's like the thing they studied is that, like, they interviewed a lot of kids, like, in high school or something, and they thought, like, every kid thought they were going to be a millionaire by the time they were, like, a certain age, and, dude, nobody fucking hit that. Only a very, very few people did, so, yeah, as long as you're pushing forward, man, you're on the right path.
The job market being ever so troubling in modern day, it seems as if a lot of people are staying back at home. They're not moving out right away. Now, they used to do this thing where it's like parents, at least in America, they would let their kids stay at home as long as they're going to school, or as long as they're saving up for a house, or as long as they have some sort of goal in mind, so that eventually they can get the fuck out of our house. But it seems like these days, with, home prices skyrocketing, with credit card debts just racking up with everybody in the family, it seems. And then also alongside that, it just seems like there's really no career anymore. The whole sense of a career has been replaced with a just get by job, which every job, no matter what you do, is basically barely getting you by, it seems like. If you ask the majority of people around you, or you meet on the train, subway, or convenience store, whatever, wherever the fuck you go. So do you personally feel like this is just kind of a change in society, a shift in the times? Or are we also maybe experiencing, I hate to say it, a downfall of society? I'll wrap up another video discussing how modern generations are losers and how older generations seem to be the only ones that did it right. That's probably not the case. But if you personally have any thoughts, opinions regarding anything discussed in this video, or you have any other topics you'd like to hear me touch on in the near future and other videos, feel free to leave those down below in the comments. I always love to read through those, sort through those, and respond to the ones I see fit, as well as a huge shout out to the handful of you guys checking out those links down below in the description. Those are always some of the best ways to support me and the content around here. That's kind of all I got for this one, so bye.